Good luck.
C'est un problème?
No, there's not.
If I keep the computer?
No, they are getting frustrated because when people bring their computer, it means that they will stream from their computer.
No.
That's what she's explaining.
No.
Well, good luck with your presentation. If you need anything.
What? Oh, the live stream guy is there. So yesterday we saw him because he was the day before. He had gone for and then the streams about that's literally on the recording. It's hilarious. So my talk starts with a little conversation about the streaming guy.
Let's hope it's not the case.
Right. This will also happen, This will be recorded.
Well.
Oh, there's a little glass.
Yeah.
Should we take that? I don't know whose that was.
Good luck.
Thank you.
So you let us know when you're ready, so we can start streaming. Okay?
The live stream.
Yeah.
I think we can start.
Okay. People's getting recordings. So 2 minutes, and then you can start. I will give you like 5 minutes when you can start.
Okay. Holy wow. This is very bright. I feel like I'm being investigated for something.
Ah oui, là-bas. Ok. Donc je vais lui dire.
Vas-y, je vais lui dire. Il peut dire quoi? Que ça commence?
Tu veux dire on commence. Hein?
Can I start? Yeah? Okay. So, hi everyone. Final day at CC. We're all incredibly tired, but also I hope we have learned a lot and shared a lot of very interesting conversations. I am going to, so in the schedule we had enabling opportunity interests where there are none. I wanted to kind of loop this little conversation in here because from the talks that I've been having with people, there's a lot of things that a lot of people don't know about the current monetary system that we're in and all of the reasons why it doesn't work and maybe what different models may help us fix what is kind of very, very broken. And I think by proxy, that very much enables that opportunity and choice, that diversity of access to resources that right now we just do not have. And I think, that's one of the reasons why we started this whole thing, to maybe make things better. So this, this topic and its correlation to nature, I'm going to kind of set the scene a little bit, and then we can delve into the weeds. But this is, a lot of these things are based on the work of Bernard Lettier. If you're familiar with his work, I've kind of taken a lot of those concepts and applied them to what we are doing here today with crypto and with Web3. So what is money? If you look at the textbook definition, it's very much about unit of account and medium of exchange and store of value, but those are actually the things that it does. The actual definition is, and we tend to keep forgetting this, it's just an unconscious agreement. We all kind of agree that the money that we have today has the value that it has. It isn't enforced by anything more than that. It isn't enforced by a contract. You are not, signed, contractually obligated to believe in its value. And it is something that is standardized within a community and used as a medium of exchange. But again, something that a lot of people forget or maybe are not aware of, I think us here a little bit more aware than others, but all the money that we deal with today is created by debt, created by banks. And that's something that, again, we forget. And a lot of people assume that the national currencies are, created by the governments. They are not. They are created by private institutions, the banks. Which means that, like all private institutions, they operate for profit. Right? Not for, the benefit of the people. So here's another reality that, again, we don't really talk about and we don't know. The IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund, runs a report every year. And in the past 40-odd years, we have had these beautiful stats that we see here, which roughly equate to about 10 crises a year. Any other product or service that would give you this level of crashes, think of a car, you would pull off the market to maybe rethink, redesign, improve. But we keep riding in it. We literally keep getting and persisting with this model and going, oh, I hope it's gonna, the results are gonna be different. But they are not. We keep doing the same thing, we're going to get the same results. Keep doing the same thing, getting the same results. And they are all interconnected. All of these things, we keep thinking, oh, it's the 2007-2008 crisis that was so big. Yes, it was a big one, but it was not the only one. All of these are happening all the time. So clearly, something is not right. And that is our monetary monoculture. We keep putting all of our eggs into one basket, and that is how the monetary system has been designed. A lot of people don't know this, and when I mention this, it comes as a surprise, and it was to me when I discovered this, but actually the euro was never supposed to be the single currency. The euro was supposed to operate in parallel with the national currencies of the member states. Was supposed to be a complementary currency, right? Because having one is not a good, this concept of putting all your eggs in one basket is not a sound decision or model. So why do I bring nature into this? And why it's maybe important to have a little return to nature and look at how it's been working for a good few millions of years, much longer than we've been doing things. And a key concept is low diversity means low resilience. High diversity equals high resilience. Going from, and again, this monetary monoculture is obviously low diversity, right? What does low diversity mean? Low diversity means that you are essentially much more open to risks and much less able to handle them, to fight them. If you look at the differences in these two types of forests, one of them has lines of trees with a lot of space in between them, with a lot of air. If I light a match in there, it's probably, going to go up in flames. There's not much to stop it. There's a lot of oxygen. It's going to, burn pretty soundly. If you look at the other one, that's a deep jungle that is high diversity. It has all sorts of species, all sorts of different elements of that ecosystem that do a much better job at protecting it from risks and from danger. High resilience. Variety gives us resilience. So this is a concept by Robert Ulanovich. The idea is that if you look at complex flow networks, the same principles apply regardless of what makes up that system. So we have a set of rules that govern any complex flow network, and the same way as a jungle is a complex flow network, so is the monetary system. They are both defined by the same characteristics. And the complex flow networks become sustainable through a balance between efficiency and resilience. You have to have a balance in order for that ecosystem to thrive. If the balance is skewed either in way too high diversity or way too high efficiency, it doesn't work. It fails because it doesn't have that balance. So the two structural variables of any ecosystem are diversity and interconnectivity. That's how they exist. You have in nature, you have the flora working with the fauna. You have everything is interconnected and serving each other. The same thing would be an economical system. And if you see there, any kind of flow network, biomass in an ecosystem, electrons in an electrical circuit, and money in an economy. All of these are ingredients that should maintain that ecosystem and make it thrive. But when you mess with it and when you mess with that balance, you get into trouble and the ecosystem suffers. And this is what I mean. So with the two ends of the spectrum, you have resilience, which is this diversity and interconnectivity, and then you have efficiency, which is streamline, one monetary monoculture, single currency, and all of that. Extreme efficiency. But the piece in the middle, that balance, is this thing called a window of viability. It's the optimum balance, because excess resilience means stagnation, nothing happens. Excess efficiency means collapse. That window of viability, natural ecosystems get back into naturally. They do it by themselves, after a certain period of time, of course. But the tendency in nature is to always go back to the middle, even if you've been at either pole because of whatever factors. But what we do is, as soon as we get into high diversity and in too much interconnectivity, we always rush to extreme efficiency. We always rush to stream the hell out of whatever it is that we're doing. Which means austerity. You know how we're always like, austerity after there's a crash. No, we must like streamline, remove. We must tighten a belt. We must do this. When in fact, if we were to do the natural recovery route, we would go slowly towards that window of viability, straight back. What we are doing, and this is why those crises repeat, is we go straight into efficiency, straight into the other pole, and we collapse again, rather than, again, going naturally. So potentially what we could do right now in the situation that we're in is go the natural route, and with the effect of some complementary currencies, potentially enabled by crypto, we could get back to that window of viability, to that natural balance, and mimic the natural ecosystem again. Because obviously there are many problems with the current system. And unfortunately, I was reading the study done by the French, the Ministry of Health, or I don't. And one French farmer, unfortunately commits suicide because they get into financial struggles. This perpetuation of debt and all, because all the money that we move around is debt, really does have incredibly negative effects on us as a society, as a global ecosystem. It's terrible. And that is because the conventional money is created by these banks to serve profits because they are private institutions and they must work for profit. Also, what happens is conventional money moves very quickly out of circulation. If you look at buying things in a supermarket, let's say Carrefour here, that money is going to go out of the community or the small arrondissement that I bought it in very quickly. It's not going to stay in that area. It's going to move away, going to a global pool of international money. What if you would have a complementary community currency that serves that particular region, that particular community, and doesn't just benefit the private institutions that created it? And again, conventional money is created hierarchically and conditionally. So everything, again, is very, very conditioned and dependent on making a profit. This is potentially a solution, these complementary currencies. Like I mentioned the euro earlier, that was intended to be this complementary currency. Why might that be important? Because if, let's say, I was in France and I had francs, but I also had euros, if I ran out of francs, I had a backup plan. If I ran out of euros, I had a backup plan. Being able to have that choice between the two just means that you are not in all eggs in one basket situation, and if that basket breaks, the whole situation is dire. Having a backup is incredibly important for the resilience of the system that you are in, for the economy that you are in. Because being able to have that alternative means that you can better prepare if anything were to happen. Think of Greece. Maybe if Greece, at the time we had both currencies operating at the same time, maybe it wouldn't have been as dire a situation. Potentially, we don't know. But it might have been prevented or certainly diminished in terms of effect. And these are some of the things that obviously we would make sense, right? We would have community or user-created currencies, and this is something that we have talked about these past 3 days. There are people creating tokens for themselves, or to work with sell their time, and so on. And so what happens with that is that potentially the money also remains in the ecosystem and in that community a lot longer and could potentially benefit that ecosystem a lot better. And then this governance, and again, it's such a hot topic in our ecosystem, the government situation, but to govern a currency as a commons, Elinor Ostrom actually is a wonderful woman, and if you get a chance to research, she won a Nobel Prize as well, but she has these 8 principles to govern a commons. And actually, they're very, very applicable to a lot of the things we talk about in crypto, to a lot of the things that we talk about in Web3, but would also apply very, very nicely to a complementary currency model, so that, again, remember, money is just an agreement that we all support. The same way we could apply it to these regional or local, or maybe even redo the national currencies and have this diverse system of resources, this diverse selection of tools in our toolbox. Because actually, Letier also says, if you don't have a variety of brushes in your toolbox or in your I don't know, artists' toolbox, you are almost, just picking randomly and painting with a screwdriver, right? Because that's the only thing that you have. but you keep doing it and hoping that somehow you're going to create some sort of masterpiece, right? So these are very interesting, and again, I would urge you to have a look at these in a little bit more depth. And now for some examples, because it's always good to show versus tell, and again, to give you these examples of these things happening already. These aren't new things. These aren't unheard of things. We all know of certain currencies that exist, but this is a very important one. Not many people know, and again, this is based on a lot of conversations that I've had, that Switzerland operates with two currencies. They have the Swiss franc and they have the weir. The weir was created by 16 business people a very long time ago. Their idea was this: I want to, with or between these 16 businesses, we want to continue trading amongst ourselves using this currency that we can essentially keep operating and keep using, even if we run out of Swiss francs or something happens and we don't have such an abundant stash of Swiss francs. And of course, in time, it has been going for almost 90 years, more and more and more and more businesses and more people joined to the point where now they have a bank that works on weir. And they agreed 1 weir is 1 Swiss franc. And people always ask me, but how? How do they maintain it? Again, remember, money is but an agreement that we perpetuate. That was agreed, that's what we maintain. And that's as simple as it is. A lot of studies, and again, go out, check it out for yourselves. A lot of them credit this dual monetary system with the balance and the equilibrium that Switzerland has maintained for so long, and the abundance that it benefits from. Right? Very interesting. Another one, the Swiss. Maybe you'll say, oh, but the Swiss, you know. But actually, there's more. These guys in Ghent, in Belgium, it's a neighborhood in Ghent, and they have this Turkis. And the Turkis, you can actually earn by doing things in your community, like maintaining a local garden, or, you know, contributing somehow to your community, cleaning it up, doing all sorts of little tasks. And you earn this community token. And then on the webpage, of course, it's like paper money, but very, very good case for crypto here. And then you can redeem it in the local shops, cinema. They have a cinema, some cafes, some bars. And again, if I do not have euros, but I live in this neighborhood, I have Turkis. It means that I could still go to the cinema. It means I could still buy food. It means I could still potentially, you know, do something that I could continuously earn it. Very beneficial. And again, they agree that 1 Turkish is equivalent to 10 cents, 10 euro cents. Simple agreement within the community. And using those 8 principles that I showed you, you can maintain this and make sure that people are involved in the running of this currency and in its benefiting their own community. Very interesting. So, coming back to nature and showing you all of these diverse systems and the diversity of resources really does make a lot of difference if we want to move away from the crazy, you know, monetary situation that we find ourselves in that is clearly not working. And to perpetuate it is to blindly get into a car that we know will crash and just cross our fingers and hope it doesn't happen again. But we know it will, because at this point, again, it's systemic. It will keep happening. The diversity, creating multiple currencies, being able to access diverse resources means we become much more resilient. And the 2 examples of the cute furry animals is very simple. The panda only eats 1 type of bamboo. 1. How long has the panda been on the extinction list for? A very long time. The gray squirrel, on the other hand, eats anything. It has, in fact, like almost decimated the red squirrel population whenever it's gone, because it eats anything. Oh, that particular nut isn't available? No problem, I'll have some pizza. But it survives, and it thrives, and it's so successful at thriving because of its diverse diet that is too much, right? We're going into too much diversity, and then maybe in time, what will probably happen is there'll be some sort of disease that affects the gray squirrel, and the balance will be restored by nature, naturally. But these are very, very interesting parallels that I think hopefully are easy to understand why something like complementary and diverse currencies or money could be a solution, and the solution that we are looking for. And also, with the technology that we are all interested in and involved in, or will become involved in, Web3 and cryptocurrencies, this is actually much more doable than ever before. We haven't been in this situation for a very long time, that we could, do the things that the 16 business guys in Switzerland did in 1934. So that's kind of what drew me to this. I think it's incredibly relevant. I think it also does enable that opportunity and choice. Again, choice is very important. We have painted ourselves into this corner where we haven't left very many options for ourselves. And it's time to get back out of that, and it's time to try and redesign these models, and it's up to us, it's up to this community to hopefully figure out the right way to do that. So yes, there we go. I don't know if there are any questions. Thank you. Oh yes, thank you. Yeah, so check those things out. Like, again, the weird, that's easily Googleable. You can find it very easily. The same with the Torikes. And I think there's a couple of other examples of these community currencies working very, very well. Thank you.
Any questions? We have time for questions. No? Okay, thank you, Simona. Okay, so next talk is at 2:55. Thank you, everyone. You have a break. You can take coffee.